The main topic, presidential election in 2015. Local citizens are discussing the initiative announced by the People's Assembly of Kazakhstan. A new concept of global security at the forefront, the principle of equality and mutual consideration of interests. Kazakhstan proposes to develop a global security system based on the principles of the OSCE Declaration adopted in Astana. The government will help domestic manufacturers to find new markets for export. Anti-crisis measures include support for engineering and agribusiness industries as well. How is the adequate social environment formed? Ministry of Culture and Sports has reported on the results and announced priorities for the nearest future. Almaty may become the capital of the Winter Olympics in 2022. The Evaluation Commission of the International Olympic Committee has announced a preliminary conclusion.
Good evening, I'm Rahim Ashakbayev, and this is Kazakhstan Weekly, where we summarize the major local and international news of the past week. Our tonight's guest is a known public figure, Ali Akhmetov. Mr. Akhmetov, I'm glad to see you.
Good evening.
Last week, the Assembly of People of Kazakhstan has put forward a proposal which immediately went viral in the Kazakh media world. The board of the Assembly proposed to hold presidential election in 2015. For information, the current presidential term is due by April next year. Previous elections were held in 2011, and at that time more than 95% of people voted for Nursultan Nazarbayev. Kazakhs are now actively discussing the timeliness and the justification of the initiative of the Assembly to hold the elections. We will also take a look at it, but first let's watch the next story.
On February the 14th, the delegates of the Council of Kazakhstan's People's Assembly have proposed to hold a presidential election in 2015. They stressed that the original initiative was made by the ordinary Kazakhs. People have repeatedly appealed to the Assembly with the proposal. Among numerous arguments, the representatives of the Assembly argued with the need to avoid legal conflicts that may occur if both the parliamentary and presidential elections will be held in 1 year in 2016. The Assembly representatives have also taken into account the factor of economic expediency. The peak of the economic crisis is forecasted for 2016, and the two Republican electoral campaigns may incur huge losses to the state budget. In addition, in 2016, all efforts need to be concentrated on the implementation of the anti-crisis measures, including the Nurly Joly program. The presidential election will allow consolidate the society and the state on solving economic challenges. Country's leading political and social institutions have already supported the initiative announced by the Assembly. Experts, political scientists, and public figures are reviewing the proposal, while concerned citizens are actively voicing their opinions. The members of both upper and lower parliament unanimously supported the initiative of the Assembly and appealed to the head of state to hold presidential elections this year. At the same time, the chairman of the Senate, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, made a request to the Constitutional Court. The chairman of the upper house of parliament asked for an official interpretation of the constitutional provisions on the procedure for appointing the elections. The security of our citizens and the national interest of our country are absolutely important. Also, there is an issue that the presidential and parliamentary elections can't be held simultaneously. And here we must understand that 2016 will undergo the peak of the global crisis. We will have to hold two major electoral campaigns, and the election period would last almost the entire year. This request was based on letters and appeals which were submitted by citizens. There were many requests. Also, it was discussed during meetings with the population in the regions. The Nur-Otan Party is the leading political party of the country, fully supports this initiative. Today, more than ever, it is important to strengthen the unity, harmony and stability, to consolidate the efforts of the state, society and all citizens of our country. In this context, supporting the People's Assembly, we consider the initiative to hold a presidential election to be the most correct decision that meets the interests of the country and the people. The members of the party Akjol support the proposal to hold presidential elections. We believe that this fateful step was influenced by the long-term national interests of Kazakhstan. The members of the faction, as well as all the People's Communists, fully support the idea. All efforts of the state apparatus, legislative and representative government and people should be united through the elections to overcome today's challenges. The presidential and parliamentary elections shouldn't be held in 1 year. Therefore, the presidential election 2015 will be timely and very important. The constitutionality of this issue is not violated. The arguments were logical. Our party of patriots supports the initiative to hold the election. We will take an active part in this event.
So, Mr. Akhmetov, is the idea to hold the elections this year reasonable and timely, in your opinion?
I should say yes, because as soon as the Assembly of the Peoples of Kazakhstan initiated this proposal, almost all the leaders of the political parties, also the leaders of non-governmental organizations, youth and statesmen, well-known statesmen, scientists, and both chambers of the parliament supported this initiative. It is understandable. There is a question why. The answer is it's a big trust to the president, see, to the cause of the president at this period of Kazakhstan's independence. Taking into consideration the international situation, the political situation, and the economic situation in the world, I think this initiative is timely. Sooner or later, the elections will take place, but next year, two elections are coming, presidential and also parliamentarian. If we look deeper into this process, if two campaigns will take place at the same time, it will take the whole year. I think this is not good for the realization of the cause of the president, all those infrastructural projects which the president has voiced in his new address to the people, Joly. As you know, Joly is a very important address because it includes a lot of infrastructural projects, building of roads, railways, just roads, and also airlines, and also social projects, also industrial projects. And I think if we implement this proposal into life, it will consolidate the whole society of Kazakhstan.
Do you think in the case of implementation of this initiative, there will be enough time for participants?
I think the time will be quite enough, because it's not for the first time that Kazakhstan is holding these kind of elections. Infrastructure is ready. That's why there is no concern about that.
I mean, time enough for participants to prepare their electoral campaign.
You mean the political parties and electorate candidates? I think they are ripe, because everybody was aware or is aware of the coming elections. Mm-hmm. That's why I think there will not be any discrepancies with regards to the time of the elections. Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, as I have just already mentioned and underlined, that all the leaders of the political parties just supported this idea. That means they are already ready. Mm-hmm. I think in this there is no problem in this area.
Last week, President Nursultan Nazarbayev met with the representatives of many different countries in Akarda. The president received foreign diplomats accredited in Kazakhstan. This is a traditional meeting which has been held for the past few years. The number of the meeting participants is growing every year. At present, Kazakhstan has established diplomatic relations with 169 countries, 69 of which have offices in Kazakhstan.
At the meetings with foreign diplomats, Nazarbayev traditionally discusses the situation in the world. The president began his international review with a tragedy in Paris, noting that Kazakhstan strongly condemns terrorism and extremism in all its manifestations. The country actively participates in the global efforts to fight such causes. The Kazakh leaders stressed the importance of the fact that Islam or any other religion shouldn't be equated with terrorism. The Congress of World and Traditional Religions, which will be held in Astana for the 5th time in June this year, helps to establish a dialogue dialogue between representatives of different faiths. President Nazarbayev has asked the representatives of diplomatic missions to pass along invitations further to their countries. According to Nursultan Nazarbayev, one of the main problems in the world now is the military actions in Ukraine. More than 5,000 people had been killed in the southeast of the country. The president noted that there is no alternative to a peaceful solution of the crisis. Nursultan Nazarbayev is well known for his peaceful initiatives, and this time he also adhered to peace, and for several months he had been negotiating to hold the Normandy 4 leaders in Kazakhstan. He welcomed the outcome of the negotiations in Minsk on February 12 and said that the heads of state deserved ovations for their efforts. According to the president, the crisis of confidence and international relations focuses on the need to strengthen the international security system. Nursultan Nazarbayev has proposed to develop a conceptually new treaty similar to the Helsinki Final Act in 1975. He also reminded of Kazakhstan's attempts to strengthen the nuclear non-proliferation efforts. Conclusion of the protocol, the Treaty on the Central Asian Nuclear Weapons Free Zone in New York, became a successful achievement in this direction. The president has noted that Kazakhstan will be able to contribute efforts to the fight against terrorism, drug trafficking, energy and food security, water and energy issues, and other issues as a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council in 2017-2018. The country relies on the international community's support of Kazakhstan's candidacy for this post. Amid the challenges and threats of the 21st century, I propose to begin the development of a conceptually new treaty that will be similar to the Helsinki Final Act of 1975. It should include the creation of a new security system based on mutual interest and the practical implementation of the principles of the Astana Declaration adopted at the OSCE summit.
So, Mr. Akhmetov, perhaps the most important results of the meeting of the president with the diplomats was the statement of Nursultan Nazarbayev on the development of a new treaty on global security. What do you think this document will stipulate?
Yes, at the meeting with the diplomats of foreign countries registered in Kazakhstan, the president has initiated a new treatment. The following thing. For example, OSCE, for example, provides security in the European area only, Eurozone. As you remember, in 2010, we chaired the OSCE, and we held the summit of OSCE, and Astana Declaration has been adopted, if you remember. And according to this declaration, the president initiated that from now on, or from then on, for example, we should, as far as the security is concerned, we should not be limited only with Eurozone. The security should be prolonged to Asia, Euro and Eurasian security. And that's why the president again underlined this time at the meeting that in accordance with the Helsinki Final Act, it will be a similar treaty. But it will include not only European security and cooperation, but Eurasian security and cooperation, because it's a wide space. I think it is justified. And the diplomats understand this initiative very well, and I think it is timely. It is timely. If you judge, for example, SICA, for example, Shanghai Organization, and besides that, for example, Eurasian Economic Union has been set up, and it has started already. You see, and taking into consideration all these changes. When we talk about security, when providing security, from now on, we should always take into consideration the security not only in the European area, but also in the whole Asian area. That means Euro-Asian security and cooperation. That's why OSCE perhaps will change the name. This acronym OSCE might be changed. Eurasian, not only Europe, but Asian also. From this point of view, I think the initiative of the president is completely justified.
The new export policy will facilitate Kazakh enterprises entering the world markets. The Minister for Investments and Development, Asset Zikeshev, has noted at the recent briefing that the development strategy will refocus export to new markets. Despite the reduction in raw material supply, the volume of manufactured goods in Kazakhstan remains unchanged at about $4 billion. For comparison, 4 years ago, this number was $2 billion.
The new program developed by the government of Kazakhstan is designed to support Kazakhstani manufacturers. As the Minister for Investments and Development has outlined, the government will allocate 35 billion tenge to support Kazakh exporters. However, the Minister Zikeshev has noted that the decrease in the efficiency of the supply to northern region forces to look for new markets, though southern regions, due to the lack of infrastructure, didn't look too promising, are actively developing now. Among numerous new roads that were recently built there is the railroad Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Iran, for instance, and now the country can consider entering the markets of the Middle East, India, etc. The support of Kazakhstan's automotive industry will be also provided as part of the anti-crisis measures. 20 billion tenge from the national budget will help strengthen the domestic market sales and make the Kazakhstani automakers more competitive. Yerbolat Asayev noted that the funds will be distributed in two ways. Individuals will be provided with additional car loans through second-tier banks. The final rate for borrowers will be about 6%. For legal entities, financial leasing with a rate of 4% will be provided as well. At the same time, the minister said the class of cars for concessional loan will be limited. In general, according to Asayev, 101 billion tenge will be redirected at the anti-crisis measures. The amendments to the law on the national budget for 2015-17 were presented in the lower house of parliament. As the Minister of Finance Bakhit Sultanov noted, the optimization of the budget will amount to 9%. According to him, current costs were reduced by 391 billion tenge, as the development budget expenses were cut by 295 billion tenge. The government also would cut the costs of the International Exhibition Expo 2017 by 10 billion tenge. Meanwhile, the expenses in the social sphere were reduced as well. At the same time, the minister stressed that despite the changes, the amount of wages, pensions and benefits will remain at the same level. New markets include Central Asia, the Caucasus, Iran, and Asian countries. Initial negotiations indicate that these countries, which are south of us, include the potential volume of export and financing totals 160 billion tenge. Our task now is to turn it into export contracts. Domestic agricultural machinery, pumps, fans, batteries, transformers, pipes, fertilizers and food will be exported. Special trade missions led by the ministry and members of the government will be organized to promote products. In February, March and April, there will be business trips to Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Mongolia and other countries. Active policy of import substitution with the creation of new industries will be resumed to strengthen measures for the development of local content. National companies and large enterprises have signed 407 memoranda worth more than 1.4 trillion tenge to expand local content in the procurement of goods and services.
So, Mr. Akhmetov, since 2015, the implementation of new export strategy has begun. What foreign markets is it targeting?
It is quite clear now, if earlier, for example, we exported to the north, to our great neighbor, to Russia, and to other, for example, Belarus and other countries, but now this market is widening. As soon as we have completed this, the construction of the railway through Turkmenistan to Iran, now we have direct access to the seas, to the Persian Gulf and to Persian Gulf countries, and also to India, and here this project is very important. Now we will export not only to Russia and to northern countries, but also to the Caucasian countries, to Central Asian countries, including Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and also Mongolia. And besides that, we will be able to export local content, the production which we produce here in Kazakhstan. For example, pipes, for example, batteries, for example, very many other items, commodities produced in Kazakhstan. And those commodities, I think, will go to Iran, for example, to perhaps later to Afghanistan, to Persian countries, and the market will be widened. Not only Eurasian Economic Union countries, including Kazakhstan, Russia, and Belarus, But also from now on, for example, all those countries are keenly interested. On the other hand, we should underline that this year we are going to enter, to be accepted into the World Trade Organization. That means free trade will widen. And from this point of view, the new strategy of export of Kazakhstan is timely and it is justified. And the CKH has underlined this. And from this point of view, I think it will bring a lot of revenues to the economy of Kazakhstan, especially at this period of economic crisis, world crisis. See? And besides that, the peak of the crisis will come to 2016, I think. We have mentioned it earlier. And from every point of view, it is justified.
Let's also mention that this year Kazakhstan has just launched a new railway line.
Yes.
To Iran, directly to Persian Gulf via
Turkmenistan. Turkmenistan, yes. And it will expand the volume of export of Kazakhstan to very many other countries, not only to Russia or to Belarus or very many other countries. That means time has changed, and that's why Kazakhstan is also changing its strategy, especially in the field of export.
There are new horizons for the development of culture. The concept of cultural policy has been adopted in Kazakhstan for the first time in the history of independence. As it was announced, the strategy is aimed primarily at the formation of recognizable brands, the development of contemporary art and educational policies. One of the main tasks is to promote Kazakh culture in the world.
Deputy Prime Minister Berdibek Saparbayev advised to attract sponsors to promote Kazakh culture. For example, Shakar Symphony was written at the personal request of Kazakhstan's patron, which premiered in London in 2010. Minister of Culture will increase support of local authors in order to update the repertoire of the theater and film industry with Kazakhstani works. Also, a lot of attention will be paid to the development of the museum and archives. Saparbayev has instructed the department to study the issue of their profitability. Modern museums in the country have already begun to change approaches. A good example is in East Kazakhstan. Last year alone, Architecture, Ethnography and Natural Landscape Museum Reserve was able to earn about 100 million tenge. Over 60,000 items are collected here. Saparbayev stressed that precisely such reserves and open-air museums must appear in every region of the country. Kazakhstan's museums, archives and libraries will change the form of ownership and move into a form of state public enterprises. In addition, from 2016, Kazakh universities will begin to train specialists for archival work. Currently, archives are used as references, while abroad archives are the centers of research activity. The archives in Vatican, Venice, Russia, or the Institute of Ancient Manuscripts in Yerevan, all research centers. Our task is to turn Kazakh archives to research centers. Then the significance of archives and history will be quite different.
So, Mr. Akhmetov, how do you assess the innovations that the Minister of Culture and Sports plans to introduce?
I will say it's a good trend, and in the earlier issues of Kazakhstan Weekly, we time and again underlined how, for example, Astana Opera, for example, made a world tour. It visited Canada, the United States, and the European countries, and it staged a lot of pieces and was very successful. And now Kazakhstan has accepted new conception of culture. It's understandable. We should promote our culture in the whole world, because the world is small village now. And the exchange of culture, exchange of days of culture are practiced. And it brings a lot of good to understand, to mutual understanding of different peoples. And from this point of view, for example, the initiative of the Ministry of Culture to, for example, to make the archives and the museums into research centers are justifiable. Because if you look, for example, the museums of Russia, for example, in Petersburg, or museums, the British Museum, for example, or museums of France, museums of the United States, all of them are research centers. And from this point of view, the step which has been taken by the Minister of Culture with regards to archives is also justifiable. archives should serve as research centers, because and also universities and the institutes should train archive workers, because it's very important, especially at the time when we already it is high time to, for example, look back to our history. And on the other hand, this year, for example, we are going to celebrate 550th anniversary of Kazakh country, within the country and the outside of the country. And from this point of view, archives should become research centers. Not only archives, but also museums. And from this point of view, I would like to underline the National Museum of Almaty, for example, Kazakhstan in Almaty, is really research center, because it has been practicing research, scientific research for many years, and now this museum had produced a lot of books, published a lot of books related to the history, ethnography, and the history of Kazakhstan. And I think from this point of view, the new conception should be justified.
Almaty has all the chances to host the Winter Olympics in 2022. The Evaluation Commission of the International Olympic Committee has inspected the sports facilities in Almaty and announced of readiness of the city to host the Games. The result of the bid will be announced only in July, but Almaty has won the bid to host international sports competitions among students, the Universiade in 2017. Recently, the FISU flag was handed over to the city's heads of administration.
Kazakhstan is the first of the Central Asian countries to host the Universiade. The symbolic World University flag was handed to the head of the Directorate of International Sports Projects in Almaty, Liao Razakov. FISU flag arrived in Almaty from Grenada, where the 27th Winter World Universiade came to an end. Games were held in two countries, Nordic ski and biathlon in Ostrolie, Slovakia, and ice sports were held in the Spanish Grenada. Kazakhstan finished third in the overall standings with 11 medals, 5 gold and 6 silver ones. It was the best result for the country. In this type of competition, Russia topped the tally with 68 medals. The head of the Evaluation Commission of the International Olympic Committee, Alexander Zhukov, unveiled positive conclusions regarding the possibility of holding the Olympic Winter Games in the Kazakh largest city. 12 people were in the committee. Within 18 days, they inspected the sports facilities, were acquainted with the state of urban infrastructure, and even had the chance to enjoy the nature of Almaty. 8 out of 14 required arenas had been already built. The ski jump complex and ski biathlon stadiums were already built for the competitions, while the remaining objects are still in need of modernization. The Ice Palace Stadium for male ice hockey and curling arena are planned to be built for the Universiade as well. The complex for sled events will be built next to the existing Sonkar International Ski Jump Complex. The representatives of the Olympic Committee were satisfied with what they had seen, as was reported in a press conference on the 18th of February. Almaty has all the chances to win the bid, the chairman of the Evaluation Committee, Alexander Zhukov, had noted. The city already has a successful experience of carrying out major winter events, thus there are sports facilities of world class, and besides, Almaty has a convenient geographical location. Kokzhaylao and Shimbulak resorts will not be involved in the Olympic events, as they were found non-compliant to the international standards. Therefore, the ski competitions will take place at the base Almatau. However, the Commission will release final results on June the 1st. The first IOC representatives will also visit Beijing, which is the only other bidder to host the 2022 Olympic Games. The winner will be announced on July the 31st in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The International Olympic Committee will allocate $880 million to the city that will host the Olympic Games in 2022.
So, Mr. Akhmetov, do you think that the budget-saving strategy that was announced in Kazakhstan will affect such major sporting events as the Universiade, and especially in case of approval of our applications to host the Olympics?
I would say not, because if we win, for example, the bid with regards to the Olympic Games, which will be held in 2022, we have a lot of time, and the crisis will be over, and the budget will be improved. And from this point of view, I think there is no concern about that. As for the Universiade, we have already won. And inspectors, for example, from the international committee, for example, has visited Almaty, and they inspected all the sports facilities in Almaty. It includes both, for example, our preparation for the Olympic Games and also for Universiad. Out of 14 facilities, the inspectors have approved 8, and some facilities will be also reconstructed and improved, and some of them will be constructed. And besides that, we should take into consideration one more very serious fact. We have a competitor, China, for example, and the decision is not already taken. It will be declared in July, I think, or June, or in July, in summer. And the inspectors after Kazakhstan, they will go to Beijing, and they will discuss this matter there. And China is also getting prepared very seriously. And for the time being, it's too early who will become the winner. And taking all these situations into consideration, I think the budget will not be decreased, because we have a lot of time to get prepared for the Olympic game, and for the students' Universiad, we are already ready. Facilities are ready. And I think this is good for the prestige of Kazakhstan, and this is good for the development of sports in Kazakhstan, both summer sports, winter sports, and it will promote these projects.
Thank you very much for the interesting discussion, Mr. Akhmetov. Hope to see you next week.
Thank you.
Finally, here is a brief preview of the events of the coming week. On Tuesday, February 24, Moscow will host the 6th meeting of the Eurasian Economic Commission. On Sunday, March 1st, citizens of Tajikistan and Estonia will go to the polls for parliamentary elections. We will discuss these and other important events in our next program. Thank you for watching. Best of luck and goodbye.